let us start the theory class number 14. In this we are going to discuss about the kinins. Also we are going to discuss the platelet activating factor, and also we are going to discuss about the prostaglandins. Regarding kinin is concerned, first we have to define what is kinins. So kinins is classified under the polypeptide autocoids, and the kinins are usually that we are going to study are two types, bradykinin and calidin. So both bradykinin as well as calidin are kinin, and kinins are classified under the polypeptide autocoids, that is the protein autocoids. What is the role of kinins in physiological function? Are pain, inflammation, and also most important, vasodilation. So when the vasodilation will occur, it will give rise to low blood pressure. Now we have to go through the one of the kinins, that is bradykinins. So bradykinins are usually produced when there is tissue damage, allergic reaction, viral infection, or other inflammatory events occur. These all going to stimulate to release the bradykinin and calidin. So both are kinins, and these are act on two receptor, that we call it bradykinin receptor, that is the B1 and B2 receptor. So B1 and B2 stand for bradykinin. Particularly bradykinin as well as the kinin, I mean calidin, both are acting on mainly beta 2 receptor, whereas its metabolite of bradykinin and calidin, that we call des-erg metabolite, and these are the sequence of amino acid. So for bradykinin, the metabolites is called des-erg bradykinin. For calidin, it is called des-erg calidin. However, the position in both the case, I mean bradykinin and calidin metabolites, the position of arginine is differing. In case of bradykinin metabolites, the position of arginine is at 9, whereas if the metabolite is des-erg calidin, the position of arginine is at 10 position. So this is about the silent feature of the kinins that we already discussed, about the receptor, about the physiological role, about the type of kinins, and also about the metabolites of the kinins, particularly bradykinin and calidin. Now we have to go through the synthesis of kinin, how the kinins are going to be synthesized. This is also called kininogen kinin system. This is also called kininogen kinin system. In this, we are going to discuss how the kinins like bradykinin as well as the kelidine are going to be synthesized and what are the effect they have. I mean the physiological role that we already discussed, but again we are going to discuss it in figurative form. So the alpha 2 globulin is get cleaved and form two peptide that we call kininogen. So what is kininogen? That is why we are calling it kininogen. Kininogen are the precursor protein of kallikrein kinase system or kinins. So what is kallikrein that we are going to discuss? What is kininogen we are going to discuss? So kininogens are the cleaved product of alpha 2 globulin. So you can say kininogen are alpha 2 globulin, and because this is protein in nature, we are going to call it the 2 peptide. So when there is inflammation, when there is tissue damage, when there is viral infection, these all are going to stimulate to cleave the alpha 2 globulin into two peptide that we are going to call it kininogen. So there are two kininogen or two cleaved product of the alpha 2 globulin are called high molecular weight kininogens and low molecular weight kininogens. So kininogens are the precursor protein of the kallikrein kinase system. Means ki these kininogens like high molecular weight kininogens are going to form the bradykinin as well as the kelidine. So that we already discussed about the two kininogen, high molecular weight kininogen and low molecular kininogen. And what is the kallikrein? Kallikrein is nothing, is the enzyme. So kallikrein is actually serine protease enzyme, and this kallikrein is going to convert high molecular weight kininogen into the metabolites like bradykinin and kelidine. So kallikrein is the enzyme which is participating to convert the cleaved high molecular weight kininogen and form the product bradykinin and kelidine. So this is the synthesis pathway of kinins, that is bradykinins and kelidine. So first the alpha 2 globulin is going to converted into the high and low molecular weight kininogen, and high molecular weight kininogen is going to converted into the two product bradykinin and kelidine that we call it kinase in presence of enzyme kallikrein, and the name of this is actually this is an enzyme serine protease. So this bradykinin and kelidine kinase are interconvertible. Means kelidine may get converted into bradykinin in presence of enzyme we called aminopeptidase, and these two kinins, bradykinins and kelidine, is going to act on the receptor B2 receptor, and this B2 receptor is a G protein couple receptor. G protein couple receptor. So when the kinins like bradykinins and kelidine is going to act on the B2 receptor present on the cell, it stimulate the G protein couple receptor, particularly GQ protein, and therefore it leads to or it participated in vasodilation, and this is about the physiological role of the kinins like bradykinins and kelidine, which act on the G protein coupled receptor. We call it beta 2 receptor. It activated the protein GQ protein, and therefore it produces the vasodilation. Mainly we are concerned with the vasodilation. So we are and their action. So how this vasodilation is producing? Vasodilation by this activation of GQ is by release of nitric oxide. That means that this beta 2 receptor is present in the endothelial cell of the blood vessel, and this endothelial cell, when get activated beta 2 receptor by the kinase, this synthesizes the nitric oxide by activation of the GQ protein, and that will go through the pathway that we call it the phospholipase C pathway, in which it forms the DAG and IP3, therefore it raises the intracellular calcium level, and finally it give rise to nitric oxide. And once this nitric oxide get released by the endothelial cell, the released nitric oxide is going to act on the vascular smooth muscle, and therefore this nitric oxide, when acting on the vascular smooth muscle, is going to produce the vasodilation, and therefore it lowers the blood pressure, and their activity is antagonistic to the another endogenous compound, angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 is acting on angiotensin 1 receptor, AT1 receptor. Through the GQ pathway, they are going to produce the vasoconstriction, because this is going to act directly on the vascular smooth muscle. However, bradykinin is acting on vascular smooth muscle indirectly by release of nitric oxide from the endothelial cell, and once nitric oxide get released, it act on the nearby vascular smooth muscle and relaxes, and therefore produce the vasodilation. So this is the mechanism of action of the or pharmacological action of the kinins. Now kinins like bradykinins and kelidine is also get converted into the product like des-erg bradykinin and des-erg kelidine, and they are also interconvertible with the help of enzyme aminopeptidase. The conversion of bradykinin to des-erg bradykinin with the help of the enzyme, we called it kinase 1, or we are also called CPM or CPN. Similarly, calidin is also get converted into des-arginine in presence of enzyme kinase 1, or we are also calling it CPM or CPN. However, the metabolite of bradykinin and the calidin is only differing in the position of the amino acid arginine, that is at position 9 and at position 10. And interestingly, these two metabolites of kinins like bradykinin and calidin are mainly acting on the another G protein couple receptor. We are calling the B1 receptor, or this is also acting through the same protein, GQ protein. So once this des-arginine and des-arginine is acting on the beta 1 receptor present on the endothelial cell, similar to the bradykinin and calidin, activate the protein GQ, and therefore it activates the enzyme phospholipase C, and therefore it form the product like IP3 and DAG, and this IP3 again going to raise the intracellular calcium level, and therefore it helps to release the nitric oxide. And once nitric oxide get released, it acts on the nearby vascular smooth muscle to produce the vasodilation, and this is the mechanism of action. In addition to major action vasodilation, it is also producing pain, it also producing inflammation. So this is important. Now, how this bradykinin and calidin kinins are get inactivated by the enzyme, we are calling it the angiotensin converting enzyme, that is ACE, or kinase 2. So ACE, that is the angiotensin converting enzyme, or kinase 2, is going to inactivate the kinins, bradykinins and calidin into inactive metabolite. This pathway we are not going to study, because this we are going to go through the RAS pathway. We are going to discuss this about later on, this one conversion up to the angiotensin 2 and vasoconstriction activity, that we are going to discuss later on. That we already discussed about the receptor, beta 2 receptor. So these two kinins, calidin and bradykinin, is acting on the beta 2 receptor. Now we already discussed the metabolites of the calidin and bradykinin, that we are calling it the des calidin and des-bradykinin, and that are conversion in presence of their respective enzyme. We are calling it kinase 1, or we are calling it the plasma membrane bound carboxypeptidase. So CPM stand for the membrane carboxypeptidase, whereas N stand for the the soluble plasma carboxy. So both are the carboxypeptidase, that is also known as kinase 1. That we already discussed how the calidin and bradykinin get inactivated by the enzyme. We are calling it the angiotensin converting enzyme, that we already discussed. And we already discussed this two metabolite like des-calidin, des-bradykinin, both are acting mainly on the beta 1 receptor, and therefore they are going to act on the B1 receptor and producing vasodilation and inflammation. This is very, very important. And how they are acting? They are acting through the protein GPCR protein GQ. It activates the enzyme phospholipase enzyme. Therefore, it gives to intracellular calcium level raised, and therefore this is going to produce the nitric oxide from the endothelial cell, and thereafter it is going to act on the nearby cell vascular smooth muscle, and through cyclic GMP pathway they are going to produce the relaxation in nearby smooth muscle cell in the blood vessel to produce vasodilation. When the same is going to act directly on the smooth muscle, then they are going to produce just opposite activity, that is the contraction. So this is the indirect effect. I mean, first on the blood vessel act on the endothelial cell to release the nitric oxide, and that nitric oxide is going to act on the nearby vascular smooth muscle to produce the relaxation and finally give rise to vasodilation. But when the same one is going to act directly on the smooth muscle, they are going to produce the contraction. So this is very, very interesting that we already discussed. So kallikrein also play in blood coagulation pathway. So what is kallikrein? That we already discussed. This is the enzyme to convert the high molecular weight kininogen into the bradykinin and kalidin. So this is the enzyme, serine proteases, that we already discussed. So metabolites of the kinins are, we already discussed, the metabolites get converted in presence of kininase second, that is the inactive product of bradykinin, and kalidin in presence of kininase second, and this kininase second is also called angiotensin converting enzyme. That angiotensin converting enzyme, the other role is that they are going to convert angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. Regarding receptor, we already discussed. Kinin receptors are G protein coupled receptor, that we already discussed. Here is the important point is that beta 2 receptor is constitutive one. So this is very, very important for most of the cells and selectively bind to the this kinins, bradykinins and kalidin. Whereas beta 1 receptor is usually absent or expressed with the inflammation. And that is why this is upregulated. B1 receptor formation or expression of B1 receptor expression is get upregulated when there is inflammation, when there is tissue injury, when there is cytokines are produced, when there is endotoxin, when there is growth factor. So this beta 1 receptor is rather indissoluble, whereas beta 2 receptor is constitutive. So this is very, very important. The same regarding this pathway we already discussed the production. Now we have to go through the pharmacological action that we already discussed. Pharmacological action is vasodilation through release of nitric oxide from the endothelial cell. Also going to participate in production of prostaglandin I2, that is also called prostacyclin. It also increase vascular permeability. Which one? The kinins like bradykinins and kalidin is producing vasodilation, is producing increased vascular permeability and responsible for inflammation and edema, that we already discussed. We also discussed it give rise to the pain, and it also interestingly, that is very, very important, is going to contract the smooth muscle when these are going to act directly on the smooth muscle of the intestine or uterine smooth muscle, which leads to the contraction. So this is very, very important. As well as it also increase the fluid secretion in the airways. Regarding its action on the contraction of uterine and the intestinal smooth muscle is concerned, here I am going to show you. So this is going to act on the bradykinin, or you can say the kinase, that is bradykinase, and the calidin. When going to act on the receptor directly, then a stimulation of GPCR, it is going to give rise to raise intracellular calcium level, and therefore this is going to produce the contraction. So it is direct action. So this is very, very important. Direct action on the intestinal smooth muscle, on the uterine smooth muscle, and through the same receptor of the kinins like B1 and B2 receptor, mainly the B2 receptor, because B2 receptor is the constitutive one going to produce the contraction. However, it produces vasodilation in the vascular pathway. Now we have to go through the therapeutic use of the inhibitor of the kallikrein. So, aprotonin is a drug, aprotonin is a drug, is a kallikrein inhibitor, or we are going to call a natural proteinase inhibitor. So as we know, what is the function of kallikrein? Kallikrein is going to convert the high molecular weight kininogen, high molecular weight kininogen. A high molecular weight kininogen get converted into kinins like bradykinins and calidin in presence of the enzyme that we are calling it the kallikrein. So the aprotonin is going to inhibit the enzyme which convert the high molecular weight kininogen to kinins, and therefore it will not going to form the bradykinin and calidin, and therefore this is going to use aprotonin is used clinically to reduce the blood loss in patient undergoing coronary artery bypass surgery. How? As we know, when this kallikrein enzyme is going to convert the high molecular kininogen into kinins like bradykinins and calidin, they are going to produce the vasodilation. So when there is vasodilation and you are performing the surgery, then this is going to produce the bleeding. So therefore, we are going to check the vasodilation by using kallikrein inhibitor, the drug like aprotonin, and therefore it will reduce the blood loss that patient undergoing the coronary artery bypass surgery. So this is very, very important. Another one is the icla, icalantide. This is a plasma kallikrein inhibitor. This is also an inhibitor of kallikrein enzyme. So there are two drugs, aprotonin and ecallantide. Both are kallikrein inhibitor and both may be used before performing the surgery, that is the particularly coronary artery bypass surgery. The kinin beta 2 antagonist is HOE 140. So HOE 140 is the beta 2 antagonist. So what will happen when the bradykinin and kelidine is going to act on the beta 2 receptor to produce the vasodilation, and therefore it is going to reduce the blood pressure. So when you are going to use the antagonist of beta 2 2 receptor, this is going to inhibit the lowering of blood pressure. The another drug is ecatibant. Ecatibant is a beta 2 receptor antagonist and a bradykinin analog. Because of the bradykinin analog, ecatibant is a bradykinin analog. So because of its structural similarity with the bradykinin, the bradykinin receptor is occupied by ecatibant, and therefore it acts as the beta 2 antagonist because it inhibits bradykinin to attach its receptor. Therefore it is called B2 receptor antagonist, and therefore it is lowering the effect of the blood lowering drug captopril. Captopril is angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor and used to treat the hypertension. So captopril is lowering the blood pressure. So when you are going to use the beta 2 antagonist, they are going to check the lowering action, blood pressure lowering action of the captopril. So this is all about the kinins that we already discussed about the kinin. Now we have to go through the platelet activating factor. Now we have to go through the platelet activating factor. Another autoquad is the platelet activating factor, and the platelet activating factor, about this the first scientist was Hansen. He demonstrated that is a PAF is a soluble factor, that stands for platelet activating factor, that are released from the leukocyte and cause platelets to aggregate, and therefore it helps in the clotting. So it helps in the clotting. So that is why this is called platelet activating factor. Platelet activating, as we already discussed, is a lipid autoquad. So platelet activating factor is also lipid autoquad like the prostaglandin. So prostaglandin, platelet activating factor, both are the lipid derived autoquads that you call the fatty acid autoquads. Whereas kinins like bradykinins, like kelidine, like angiotensin, these all are the protein autoquad or polypeptide autoquads. Whereas prostaglandin, platelet activating factor, both are lipid derived autoquad or fatty acid autoquad. So that we are going to discuss about the fatty acid derived autoquads or lipid derived autoquad, or we are also calling it the derived from the fat. Regarding the physiological function of the PAF is concerned, PAF is the active mediator of allergic and inflammatory reaction, and this is going to participate in bronchial hyperresponsiveness of the asthma. So this is very, very important. Now we have to go through the synthesis and chemistry of the platelet activating factor. Also, we are going to discuss it in detail about the platelet activating factor. Like the synthesis of the prostaglandin, leukotrienes, the platelet activating factor is also synthesized in the same way. How? When there is inflammation, this is going to stimulate the phospholipid layer of the membrane of the cell. That we know the phospholipid is a fat. So when the membrane or phospholipid of the membrane of the cell get stimulated by inflammation, it stimulates the enzyme that we call phospholipase A2. So when this phospholipase A2 enzyme get stimulated, this phospholipase enzyme is going to act on the membrane phospholipid, and therefore membrane phospholipid in presence of enzyme phospholipase A2 get converted into arachidonic acid, and that arachidonic acid participating in the synthesis of prostaglandin, then leukotrienes, then in the same way, this is not going to only synthesize arachidonic acid, the membrane phospholipid in presence of same enzyme phospholipase A2 also synthesizes one another fatty acid product. We call it lysopaf, lysoplatelet activating factor. And the name is itself is indicating it is activating the platelets, and therefore the name is platelet activating factor. This lysopaf is finally get converted into the platelet activating factor. So you can say from the same membrane phospholipid in presence of same enzyme phospholipase A2 get converted into lysopap and finally platelet activating factor. Chemically, the platelet activating factor is 1O alkyl 2 acetyl syn glycero 3 phosphocholine, or this PAF or platelet activating factor is also termed as platelet activating factor acether. Also it is called AGEPC, acetyl glyceryl ether phosphoryl choline. This platelet activating factor, as we already discussed, this is going to activate the platelet. So therefore, it is synthesized by the phospholipid membrane of platelet, phospholipid membrane of the neutrophil, monocyte, mast cell, eosinophil, renal mesangial cells, and many other places, vascular endothelial cells. So there are so much places of the cell that are going to participate in the synthesis of platelet activating factor. And now we have to go through the mechanism of action of the platelet activating factor, how this is going to produce the physiological function. So the same way to the kinins, they are also acting on the receptor G protein couple receptor. So PAF receptor is also G protein couple receptor that acting on the G protein couple receptor in the same protein, the GQ protein, because this and therefore the same pathway phospholipase C, IP3, calcium, and this is going to produce the activation when the receptor is GQ, and when the receptor is GI, then when the protein is the GI, then this is going to inhibit the enzyme adenyl cyclase. What is this enzyme? The function of adenyl cyclase. Adenyl cyclase is going to convert the ATP into cyclic AMP, and because the protein is GI, so GI stands for inhibitory. So this inhibitory GI is going to inhibit the action of the enzyme adenyl cyclase, and therefore it inhibits the synthesis of cyclic AMP from the ATP. So if it is through the GQ, then this is going through the PLCIP3 calcium range, and when this is acting through the GI, this is going to inhibit the synthesis of cyclic AMP by inhibiting the function of enzyme adenyl cyclase. Other enzymes also get activated that we are not going to discuss. Regarding the pharmacological action of the PAF is concerned, platelet activating factor is concerned, this is very, very important. PAF pharmacological action or platelet activating factor pharmacological action is very, very important because the name is active platelet activating factor. So therefore it activates the platelet, and therefore it gives rise to aggregation of the platelets. So this is one function. Because it is acting through the this phospholipase CIP3 calcium pathway, so when it is acting on the endothelial cell, again nitric oxide is going to release, and therefore it finally produces the vasodilation. It also participate in the increase in the vascular permeability because of the vasodilation. So this is very, very important. Also this is going to produce the activation of leukocyte, and when this is going to act on the bronchial smooth muscle through GQ PLC IP3 calcium pathway, it is going to contract the bronchial smooth muscle and produce the bronchoconstriction. So this is very, very important. The drug like lexipafant is a platelet activating factor antagonist, and this is under the trial. This lexipafant is the drug is under the trial because it is a platelet activating factor. It is used in acute pancreatitis, means to remove the inflammation of pancreas, because platelet activating factor is participating in the inflammation. So this is all about the platelet activating factor, that is the fatty autocoads, and also about the polypeptide autocoad kinase that we already discussed. Now we have to discuss the another autocoads, that is the again the fatty acid autocoad, lipid derived autocoad prostaglandin, and this is very, very important, and this is participating in the various function. So now we have to start with the up to the synthesis pathway of the prostaglandin. So this is very, very important. So now we are going to discuss the prostaglandin. So what is prostaglandin? How the named or termed the prostaglandin? When you have to divide it into two parts, it looks or it seems like that is synthesized. That word is derived from the two addition of two words, prostate and gland. So the first report about the prostaglandin as well as its name was given by the scientist Ulf von Euler, and because of the nomenclature its name was given, and its isolated from the prostate gland, and the name given by this Ulf von Euler. He received in the year 1970 the Nobel Prize. So the name was because of its first isolation from the prostate gland secretion, and the name of the compound was prostaglandins. And later on, it was found that this prostaglandin is not only found in the prostate gland secretion, rather than it is found in the many tissue of the body, and it found that is derived from the fatty acid component arachidonic acid. So arachidonic acid is the fatty acid. So we are also symbolically representing AA, or abbreviated like AA. So now we have to go through the synthesis pathway of the prostaglandin. But before that, we have to go through the some silent feature of the prostaglandin. So icosanoid and platelet activating factor both are lipid autocoids, and both are contributing in inflammation, means they are both platelet activating factor and icosanoid are going to produce inflammation, also going to produce some of the smooth muscle tone. It gives to smooth muscle contraction. It also participate in the homeostasis. It also participating in thrombosis. It also participating in parturition. It also participating in the intestinal gastrointestinal secretion. So there are wide range of function produced by icosanoid, also participating in the pain. It also participating in the fever. So there are various function of icosanoid that physiologically performed. So what is the meaning of icosanoid? Icosanoid stand for, icosa means 20. Icosa means 20. So this arachidonic acid is actually called icosanoid. Why? Because it's the 20 fatty acid derived component derived from this arachidonic acid. So therefore we are call it the icosanoid. The component derived from the arachidonic acid, that is actually a 20 number containing fatty acid. So therefore it is called icosanoid, and the component that derived from this arachidonic acid is called icosanoids. That we already discussed. It control various physiological function. Not only that, it is also a mediator of various physiological function, also modulator of inflammation reaction. Now we have to know about the main icosanoid that is derived from the 20 fatty acid, that is the arachidonic acid. So the principal or the main icosanoid that are derived from arachidonic acid are prostaglandin, thromboxane, and leukotrienes, and also others. But these three are the important one. Therefore, we are going to call it the icosanoid or the autocoid derived from the arachidonic acid. Icosanoid is also called the arachidonate metabolites, that is the product of arachidonic acid. So what is the icosanoid? The icosanoid is derived from the arachidonic acid. So what are the components that are derived from the arachidonic acid? Are prostaglandin, thromboxane, and leukotrienes. So these all are called icosanoid. So the icosanoid you may call is the summation of prostaglandin, thromboxane, and leukotrienes, and many more. But this may also call prostanoid plus leukotriene. So what is prostanoid? Prostanoid is thromboxane plus prostaglandin is called prostanoid. So prostanoid is this one and this one. What are the prostaglandins are? number PgI2, then the so this is all about the icosanoids. So icosanoids are prostaglandin. This is also prostaglandin. PgI2 is also prostaglandin. Then this is thromboxane, particularly A2. Then leukotrienes. Then other that we already discussed, that is lipoxin and hypoxylin, that are not much important. And they are usually not stored. Once it's synthesized, it release and produce the function. So now we have to go through the biosynthetic pathway of the prostaglandin. So that we already discussed, when there is inflammation, when there is tissue damage, when there is a venom, these all are going to stimulate the cell lipid, that is the phospholipid, and activation of enzyme phospholipase A2 to produce the main component arachidonic acid AA. And why we are calling it the arachidonic acid? Because what is arachidonic acid? Arachidonic acid is icosanoid. So what is the meaning of icosanoid? Is a 20 carbon unsaturated fatty acid. And if you go through its chemical name, you will find there is presence of four double bond, and therefore icosa means 20, that we already discussed, 20 carbon unsaturated fatty acid. So their name of arachidonic acid chemically are 5, 8, 11, 14 icosa tetra enoic acid. So icosanoid is the Icosa means 20 carbon fatty acid. Tetra means 4. Enoic means bond. So there are 4 double bond is present in this acid, and therefore at position 5, 8, 11, 14, and therefore name is the 5, 8, 11, 40 Icosa tetra enoic acid, and in simple form this is called arachidonic acid. And because they are 20 carbon fatty acid, unsaturated fatty acid, it is called icosanoid. And that we already discussed, many stimuli like inflammation that are going to stimulate to release the arachidonic acid. There are many that we already discussed. So when there is the inflammation, when there is the tissue injury, it stimulates the enzyme phospholipase A2, which convert the membrane phospholipid into arachidonic acid, and arachidonic acid is participating in the synthesis of eicosanoid like prostaglandin, leukotrienes, thromboxane, lipoxin, and many others. So now we have to go through the synthesis pathway of the prostaglandin, thromboxane, leukotrienes. So first we have to go through the synthesis pathway of prostaglandin and thromboxane. So once phospholipase A2 convert membrane phospholipid to arachidonic acid, this arachidonic acid in presence of cyclooxygenase enzyme, which abbreviated it COX. So COX stands for cyclooxygenase enzyme, that convert the arachidonic acid into the product prostaglandin and thromboxane. So cyclooxygenase convert the arachidonic acid into the prostaglandin. We call it prostaglandin G2, which is unstable, and quickly in presence of same cyclooxygenase enzyme, that is COX-1 and COX-2, or cyclooxygenase 1 or cyclooxygenase 2, this unstable PGG2 get converted into the PGH2. So arachidonic acid in presence of COX or cyclooxygenase 1 and 2 get finally converted into PGG2 to PGH2, and thereafter in presence of several synthase enzyme or synthetase enzyme get converted into several prostaglandin product like PGD2, PGE2, PGF2 alpha, PGI2, and as well as thromboxane A2 in presence of their respective synthetase. Means when PGH2 is going to act on the enzyme like PGD2 synthetase, PG, PGE synthase, PGF F2 F2 alpha synthase, PGI synthase, thromboxane synthase, they are going to synthesize PDD2, PGE2, PGF2 alpha, PGI2, thromboxane A2 respectively. So this is very, very important. And we already discussed the enzyme about the cyclooxygenase 2 type, COX-1 and COX-2. Another enzyme, we are going to discuss the synthesis of the lipooxygenase pathway for the synthesis of leukotrienes. So, in presence of enzyme lipooxygenase, the membrane phospholipid up to the arachidonic acid is same. So, when the arachidonic acid in place of COX, lipooxygenase when it acts, they are going to synthesize the leukotrienes, particularly leukotrienes A, leukotrienes A, particularly A4, leukotrienes A4. So where is this leukotrienes? Leukotrienes A4 that we are going to discuss later on. So when this in place of COX, when the lipooxygenase enzyme is acting on arachidonic acid, this is going to produce the leukotrienes. Particularly the first product is leukotrienes A4. Here very, very important point is that a steroid drug like glucocorticoid is anti-inflammatory agent. How this glucocorticoid is act as an anti-inflammatory agent? As we already mentioned, these prostaglandin or other product of eicosanoid like thromboxane and leukotrienes, they all are they all are participating in inflammation. So those drugs that inhibit the synthesis of these products are also called the anti-inflammatory drug. These also participating in the fever. So when this pathway of synthesis of prostaglandin are get inhibited by drug, the drug may be used as a antipyretic drug. This is also participating in the pain. So when it is get inhibited by the drug that are called anti-inflammatory drug. So these all the eicosanoid product like particularly the prostaglandin are mediator of inflammation, pain and fever. So when any drug that inhibit the synthesis of prostaglandin may be used for the therapy of anti-inflammatory, antipyretic, or analgesic drug. So glucocorticoid, how we are going to use as an anti-inflammatory? Because glucocorticoid is going to inhibit the COX enzyme, that we call it the cyclooxygenase enzyme, and therefore prostaglandin are not going to be synthesized. This is the first one. Not only that, glucocorticoid, that is steroid, are also going to synthesize the protein lipoprotein, that is the endogenous compound. So glucocorticoid is going to synthesize lipoprotein, a protein, and this lipoprotein is going to inhibit the production of the enzyme phospholipase A2. So when glucocorticoid is going to produce lipoprotein, therefore it inhibits the synthesis of phospholipase A2, and therefore it inhibits the synthesis of arachidonic acid. So if there is no arachidonic acid, no prostaglandin, so there is no inflammation. So the glucocorticoid has to act through two ways, not only through by inhibiting the cyclooxygenase, but also by producing the protein lipoprotein, and therefore it is the steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. Also there are many drugs that are the non-steroidal in nature, and we are calling it NS, stand for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, NSAIDs, NSAIDs. T NSAID. T means traditional. Traditional non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, also aspirin, also ibuprofen. These all are also used as an anti-inflammatory. Not only that, as an analgesic, also for the antipyretic. So the drug that are classified or kept under the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, also you can say the aspirin, they are analgesic in property. Majority of the drug are analgesic in property, antipyretic in property, as well as anti-inflammatory in property. But because they all or majority of NSAID are COX inhibitor. So once the COX get inhibited or cyclooxygenase enzyme get inhibited, therefore it inhibits the synthesis of the prostaglandin or eicosanoid product. Regarding the cyclooxygenase is concerned, that we already discussed, there are two type of cyclooxygenase, cyclooxygenase 1 and cyclooxygenase 2. So all traditional non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug and COX-2 inhibitor, that we call it COXIB. So what is COXIB? COXIB are the drug that are going to inhibit the particularly the enzyme cyclooxygenase type 2. So COXIBs are the drug that particularly inhibiting the enzyme cyclooxygenase 2. Cyclooxygenase 1 is constitutive, cyclooxygenase 2 is indissoluble. This is the main difference between these two. Now we have to go through the structural demonstration of synthesis pathway. So when there is arachidonic acid gets synthesized in presence of the enzyme phospholipase from phospholipase A2 by the phospholipid, this arachidonic acid in presence of the enzyme cyclooxygenase 1 and 2 get converted into the prostaglandin G2. This prostaglandin G2 is unstable compound, and again in presence of cyclooxygenase 1 and 2 converted into the prostaglandin H2, and thereafter prostaglandin H2 get converted into the various product in presence of their respective synthase enzyme. So when thromboxane A synthase enzyme is acting on the PGH2, they are going to produce the thromboxane A2. And this thromboxane A2 is going to produce physiological function by acting on the receptor. We call it the TP receptor. So when PGH2, on which the enzyme synthetase like PGE synthase is acting, they are going to convert it the product PGE2. So all are synthetase enzyme. If this enzyme is PGF synthase, they are going to produce the PGF2 alpha. When there is PGD synthase, they are going to produce the prostaglandin PGD2. When there is prostaglandin I synthase, they are going to produce the prostaglandin I2. And this I2 is acting on the receptor IP. This D2 is acting on the DP receptor. The receptor of D2 is called DP or DP2. For PGI2 receptor is the IP receptor. For the PGE, the receptor are three mainly: EP1, EP2, EP4 and 3. And the receptor for PGF2 alpha is FP receptor. And these all receptor are G protein couple receptor. So regarding synthesis process, we already earlier also discussed. Also, we illustrated in the figure. And from the next class, we are going to discuss detail about the prostaglandin.